There was public participation.
When was that?
Sometimes last year. So let us maintain that way. You can confirm with the Hansard. You can confirm with the proceedings of public participation. And there's nothing wrong with that, for your information.
So what happens to AG?
So therefore, the AG remains with his powers as the principal legal advisor of the president. But the seal of the president, of the government, is within the executives of the president. Let's go to the next question.
My last question. We are very much aware what happened to Ngong Forest. There was a public outcry when the trees were being felled. And Kenyans asked, mbona msitu wa Ngong unaangushwa? Jawabu ambalo tulipata kutoka kwa the then cabinet secretary wa mazingira alitueleza kwamba wanaangusha miti ambayo imezeeka, ambayo haina umuhimu wala faida kwa Wakenya, ndio wapande miti ambayo inaleta umuhimu na faida kwa Wakenya. Ujenzi ukaanza. Serikali ilijua kile ambacho kilikuwa kinafanyika. I&M Foundation na serikali ya Kenya walishikana kuleta ujenzi ambao walisema ulikuwa pia uleta manufaa kwa Wakenya. Suddenly, mbona ujenzi huu umesitishwa?
Asante sana. Msimamo wetu kama serikali ni kwamba tutaendelea kupanda miti, sio tu katika Ngong, msitu wa Ngong, lakini pia misitu mingine yote ambayo iko hapa nchini, na pia tunasisitizia pia Wakenya waweze kupanda miti, hususan hata katika mashamba yao madogo madogo, ndiposa tuweze kuwa na miti bilioni 15 kama vile ilivyokuwa ni agizo ama azimio la Mheshimiwa Rais. Kwa hivyo kama kuna jambo lolote ambalo linakiuka mwito ule, liwe ambalo limeweza kufanyika kutokana na maamuzi ya asasi zote za kiserikali ama wawekezaji wa kibinafsi ama mtu binafsi, wakati kutatolewa lalama, wakati kutakuwa na watu wakiuliza haya maswali, wakati itaonekana kwamba hilo jambo litafanyika, tutasitisha na tutaendelea kusitisha. Kwa hiyo ni vizuri na tunawarai wa Kenya waweze kutoa maoni yao, na serikali hii inaweza kusikiza na inaweza kufanya kulingana na maamuzi yake. Swali lingine?
Hujambo Bwana Spokes. Mimi naitwa Anthony Nyongesa kutoka Aviation Radio 97.7 Nairobi. Swali langu kidogo linahusiana na kile ambacho kimeonekana kuwa ukiukaji wa haki za kibinadamu katika mkataba wa Jumuiya ya Afrika Mashariki. Siku ya jana tumeshuhudia mawakili akiwemo Martha Karua kule Tanzania wakirejeshwa hapa nchini, na walikuwa wamekwenda kuwakilisha mwenzao kitaaluma yao, na mpaka sasa hivi hatujaona Wizara ya Masuala ya Nje ikitoa taarifa yoyote. Ni swala ambalo pia nimetarajia ukiingia hapo utakuwa unalizungumzia, nikaona hujazungumzia, ndio maana nikakuuliza
kwa swala hilo. Na kama ambavyo nimeelezea, kutokea sasa kusonga mbele tutakuwa unauliza maswali na kujibu, sio tu kusoma. Ni kweli kwamba Mheshimiwa Martha Karua na wengineo walikuwa wamekwenda kule kwa kutaka kuwakilisha mawakili wa Tundu Lissu. Na ni kweli kwamba katika Umoja wa Afrika Mashariki ambao sasa hivi mwenyekiti ni Mheshimiwa Rais William Ruto, watu wanaweza kuenda, wana uhuru wa kwenda kutoka nchi nyingine mpaka ile nyingine. Na nafikiri mmeona watu wengi sana hata kutoka Burundi ambao wanafanya kazi hapa, watu kutoka hata Kongo, wengi sana tu, hata Rwanda. Na sasa hilo sio jambo ambalo ni geni, kwamba kuna soko huria, soko hili la Afrika Mashariki, ukanda huu wetu, na ni jumuiya pia. Kwa hiyo hilo sio jambo ambalo tunafaa kusema kwamba lipo katika kanuni zetu na mkataba. Na hata wakati mmoja tulikuwa na kile ambacho tulichokiita Coalition of the Willing, ambapo Kenya, Uganda na Rwanda hauhitaji hata kuwa na passport. Unahitaji tu kuwa na kitambulisho, na mimi nimeshawahi kusafiri na kitambulisho kwenda Uganda. Lakini kama serikali mojawapo ya jumuiya nchi hizi 7 pengine imeonelea kwamba mtu fulani hafai kuingia katika nchini kwake, basi ina ruksa, ina mamlaka wa kuweza kusema kwamba kama ni wewe usiweze kuingia, kama niwe Mwaura usikwende kule, kama niwe Nyongesa usikwenda kule. Kwa hivyo bado wao wana ule uwezo fauka ya kwamba ni soko huria na watu wanaweza kuuza bidhaa na kuenda katika maeneo tofauti tofauti katika ukanda huu wote wa Afrika Mashariki. Kwa hiyo kama wao wameamua vile, huo ni uamuzi wao, lakini hilo haliondolei kwamba kuna uhuru, kwa sababu pengine hatujui kile ambacho kilifanya wafanye vile, kwa sababu hayo ni maamuzi ya kwao, na Kenya haihusiki hata kidogo kwa mambo yale, kwa sababu hata sisi wenyewe tunaweza kusema kwamba mtu fulani asiweze kuingia katika nchi hii kama serikali. Next question. Yes, the man in yellow. It's not fair to say that people who are being arrested are the ones against the broad-based government. I don't think that's a fair statement. If you look at anyone who may have been arrested, you have to deal with that on a case-by-case basis. It cannot be that then the assertion is that they do not want to support the broad-based government. Because why am I saying so? You even see within the ODM party, there are voices that may not necessarily agree with the broad-based government, and they have come out strongly, to speak about it. We are a free and a democratic country, and it's not just ODM. Look at UDA. You'll find quite a number of members who are having contrary opinion, and they are still not arrested by anyone whatsoever. So I think that's not right. My friend Acadia from GMK, that is actually propaganda and fake news. Thank you. And the government will not sit back to see Kenyans being incited into violence. The role of the government is to maintain law and order. And it doesn't matter who is doing the wrong thing. No. So we cannot say that government shall be held hostage because individuals have followers. Even the government has its own followers. And I think we all are followers of Kenya. We should be protected at all costs because we don't have any other home other than this one. We have a country that is doing extremely well, that is the third largest economy in sub-Saharan Africa after having overtaken now Ethiopia and Angola, sixth in the whole of Africa, a country that has received the highest amount of investment money, startup capital for the last 2 years, $800 million, 2023, $638 million, 2024, a country whose shilling is strengthened, a country whose foreign reserves are now at 9.6 billion, so that for 6 months we can stay without having any new dollar in the economy and we'll be able to do our imports. A country that is rising, that has reduced the cost of living, a country that has been able to stabilize the fuel crisis, a country that has also been able to contain insecurity in heretofore banditry areas to a large extent, a country that has also been able to be respected as a voice in Africa on matters climate change, the reform of the international financial system. That is why you even see the president being invited in China, in America, because we have become the face of Africa. That is a country that we must protect at all costs, without fear or favor. Next question.
Yes, good morning. You have not clearly stated this issue about the claimed threats made that the government is trying to follow up on the opposition leaders. As we speak, we have seen news about former deputy president residence being occupied by perceived DCI officers, and also the home of Trans Nzoia Governor George Natembeya. So is it that the government is trying to silence these people? And also, secondly, on the issue of Martha Karua, we have previously seen opposition leaders from other countries making or walking around here freely without any intimidation, except the issue of Kizza Besigye. And what's the government position on this? Like, when we allow other opposition leaders to walk freely in Kenya, but when our opposition leaders from Kenya try to enter other countries, we see them being detained and subsequently being deported. What's the take of this? And going forward, do we expect to see the government of Kenya maybe trying to mend its fences with Tanzania? Thank you.
I don't think there's any diplomatic spat between Kenya and Tanzania. As I said, any country has the right to admit anyone within its territories. And we, as a government, knowing very well that even the chairmanship of the East African community is now resident with our president, cannot say or emphasize that further. The only thing is that if a certain government feels that they have information against a particular individual, whether in government or in opposition, they have the right to admit. The fact that there is free movement of people and goods, and even now we have e-visa here, ETA, it doesn't mean that then we don't take precautions. Sometimes even before, when you have applied to come, you have to be screened, because we can't just allow everyone to come to our country. It's also not true, Kevin, to say that opposition leaders are being disallowed from visiting other foreign countries. I personally have met Kizza Besigye here, actually. And you can see even when Raila Odinga was an opposition leader, he used to travel out to Tanzania. So to frame it that it is about opposition leaders, that is now going for the jugular. No, it's not a question of which side of the political divide that one belongs. There's a specific issue here. Martha Karua wanted to go and defend Tundu Lissu in Tanzania. So, Tundu Lissu is somebody I know personally, and the government there feels otherwise, and they were deported. So it has nothing to do with opposition leaders, because other opposition leaders have not been refused admission in that regard. It's specific to this, and that we cannot question, because it is a decision of the Tanzanian government. When it comes to the opposition leaders here, when the security apparatus have information against any leader, and especially on incitement, this time around we are not taking it very kindly to anyone, and we are not going to be using, kids' glove. We are not. We are going to be very hard on anyone who is trying to incite the country, because we know where we are, we know where we have been before. All the way to the ICC, we will not allow our country to degenerate into anarchy and chaos. Next question.
Okay, it's me.
To picket and to caucus and to really fight for the rights of Kenyans. But for every right, there is a responsibility. And so therefore, we have seen of late members of the civil society, of which I'm a former member already, by the way, that's why I started my career, indulging into politics. And I was very surprised. About 3 weeks ago, I was invited at a civil society event, and I was even with some of my colleagues who are here. And the same members of the civil society could not allow me to speak. They were just shouting. I mean, I didn't have a right to speak. They are indulging into misinformation and disinformation. There is this Diana Gishengo, the leader, is it the Institute of Social Accountability? She went on Spice FM, lying openly that my office has got 36 billion. I wish I had the money. I mean, how do you make such blatant lies and you get away with it? The budget of the Office of Government Spokesperson is not even 100 million. But this is a leader who is saying, Institute of Social, they don't even know how to read the budget, some of them. And then they come around, they want to incite people into violence, and then they do posturing for donor funding. Because there are people who must oppose government when it is having its right properly. That is why they had that thing of blood parliament. Most of the people interviewed there are civil society people, and it was one-sided. It was completely one-sided. And they never asked the question, who banned parliament? But they were quick to say, and they were saying 3 people. We reported 9 from IPOA, which is a state agency, and we said there are 60 cases and we are still investigating them, and people are even being arraigned in court. So we are even more transparent than them. But because they are in the game of playing politics for their local benefactors, but also internationally for funding, then they can make those assertions. I would want to say categorically that the Kenya government is very, very, committed to ensuring human rights and fundamental freedoms as per the international jurisprudence enshrined in various conventions that Kenya is a treaty to within the community and committee of the United Nations. Thank you. Next. Kezwa sheria kuhusu harambee. Sawa sawa? Hiyo sheria bado haijapasishwa bungeni. Wakati kipasishwa itatoa kanuni na mikakati ya ni vipi ambavyo unaweza kuhusishwa katika harambee. Na harambee ni jambo ambalo tumelizoea, ni jambo ambalo tumekuwa tukilifanya, na wengi wetu hata hapa wamesomeshwa kupitia harambee. Hata wakati tulikuwa chuo kikuu tukasema degree ni harambee, na hata sasa tuko harambee annex. Kwa hiyo harambee ni jambo zuri zaidi. Iko hata katika nembo ya Kenya nafikiri. Na kwa hiyo sisi tumetoa njia mbadala za kuweza kuwapatia Wakenya pesa mfukoni. Kwa mfano, ule mfuko wa fedha wa Hustler Fund. Sasa hivi umeweza kuwafaidi Wakenya zaidi ya milioni 25. Na hakuna rashasha na mbwembwe kwa sababu unatumia tu simu yako rununu, unapata fedha zako, unalipa. Zaidi ya bilioni 70, sio zile 50 za kwanza, zimeweza kupatianwa katika mfuko huu. Na hata wengine wameweza kuwekeza pesa zingine pale. Kwa hiyo ni jambo ambalo tumewasaidia Wakenya zaidi ya Wakenya milioni 25. Lakini bado kuna vikundi ambavyo havijafikiwa, kwa sababu ukiangalia vile vikundi ambavyo viko katika Hustler Fund sio vingi tu. Kwa lazima tuende kule tuwazungumzie, wana mahitaji yao, wanatuambia kile ambacho wanataka, tunawasikiza, alafu tunawaachia pia pesa yao ya kufanya maendeleo. Na sidhani umesikia mtu yote akilalamika kwamba anafaidi kutokana na lile. Kwa hivyo Jadam, tutaendelea kufanya lile, na tunaongozwa, ni wabunge wanakuja kwa pamoja, na hata viongozi wa serikali kwa sababu ni serikali yetu, na tukiongozwa pia na naibu rais ambaye ni Profesa Kithure Kindiki ambaye sasa anatuongoza kwa lile. Na hata sio yeye peke yake, kuna viongozi wengine ambao tunaenda katika, na tutaendelea kufanya vile ili tuweze kuwainua Wakenya kwa sababu tuliahidi mambo ya bottom up. Sasa tuko kwenye serikali, sio tu kuahidi, ni kutekeleza. Asante. Another question? Data to see to it that we can tell for those who are defaulting on what measures we shall use will be announced as we go by, but we will do so because it's not fair for you to take money and then you don't want to pay, you know. And you remember the Minister for Cooperatives spoke very strongly about it. But let me come to the issue of affordable housing and allow me to refer here. Tomorrow, 20th May 2025 at 8 a.m. marks a historic milestone in Kenya's journey towards dignified living for all, as His Excellency President William Ruto presides over the handover of 1,080 keys to beneficiaries of the Mukuru Affordable Housing Project in Embakasi South, Nairobi, as the largest single housing initiative in the country, spanning 56 acres and comprising 13,248 units. You don't need to know anyone. You just go online, Boma Yangu, *832#, you register, and then you are qualified according to where the houses are. So you don't need to know anyone. And it's one house, one ID. That's one house, one national ID. The Mukuru project stands as a beacon of hope for low-income families. This event symbolizes the government's unwavering commitment to the bottom-up economic transformation agenda, addressing Kenya's urban housing deficit and uplifting communities long burdened by the challenges of informal settlements. The handover of these modern, safe, and affordable homes is a testament to the transformative power of the affordable housing program, offering residents not just shelter, but a pathway to stability, security, and pride. The new Mukuru housing estate, with its 26 blocks of 5,616 bed-sitters, 14 blocks of 3,024 one-bedroom units, and 48 blocks of 4,608 two-bedroom units, is designed with safety and resilience in mind, featuring proper spacing, emergency access roads, and modern amenities. Beneficiaries like Maximilian Kamodo, who once paid Kenya shillings 4,000 monthly for cramped fire-prone Mabati rooms, will now invest in home ownership with payments of as low as 3,494 per month for a studio apartment valued at 640,000. This rent-to-own model, supported by flexible payment plans and deposit assistance, ensures accessible homes for low-income earners who are your day-to-day mjengo man, mama mboga, boda boda rider, because that's the kind of rent that they pay, turning the dream of home ownership into reality. The project has created over 160,000 jobs and counting, empowering local communities and driving economic growth. As we celebrate these landmark achievements, the Mukuru project underscores the government's broader vision to deliver 200,000 affordable housing units annually, reducing the national housing deficit and transforming informal settlements across Kenya, with 970 of the 1,080 households already verified and final touches underway for tomorrow. The excitement amongst beneficiaries is palpable. Residents like Godfrey Odhiambo, chairman of Mukuru's Riara Village Beneficiaries Association, describes the estate as our new Konza city, a source of community pride and a model for urban development. So you can see the many people who are benefiting. We've been there. I have with somebody like Bibiana Wambua saying that now at least there is clean water. There is, she also tells us how children who are walking in darkness as they were going to school, now they don't have to have a lot of fires there. Or Ongoso, who has been there for 20 years without owning a home. It's really wonderful stories that we are getting there. And that is a Kenyan spirit that we want to emphasize on. That is a Kenyan spirit that we want to have. And that's why we are very happy about our athletes in Doha because of their win, Cheruiyot, Chepchirchir, and that whole group. We say, Kongole, Hongera, we are very proud of you. And that we want every Kenyan to win. We want every Kenyan to win. We want every Kenyan to go to school and to be actually well fed. And that is why in matters education, the Kenya Kwanza administration has prioritized equitable access to quality education, skills development, and systemic reforms to empower learners, educators, and institutions. When it comes to employment of teachers, the government has employed 76,000 teachers, including 68,313 junior secondary school teachers on permanent and pensionable terms, as part of its goal to recruit 116,000 educators by the year 2027. An additional 24,000 teachers are set to be employed by the next financial year, further reducing the teacher shortage previously estimated at 90,000. And even as we speak, we are replacing those that have left the teaching profession due to natural attrition. And it's, the advertisement is there, over 2,000 positions. And for example, in Bungoma County, the deployment of 1,500 new JSS teachers has lowered the student-teacher ratio, enabling personalized attention for learners and improving academic outcomes in subjects like mathematics and science. This has enabled schools like Kimilili Primary to offer specialized science lessons, boosting student performance in national assessment. The review of the competence-based curriculum CBC, the education system has transitioned from the competence-based curriculum CBC to, this is a new term, to the competency-based education and training, CBET. So we are no longer saying CBC, it's now CBET. This CBET framework has been as a result of extensive public consultations. It emphasizes practical skills, critical thinking, and innovation, aligning education with market needs and betters job creation goal. The Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development has streamlined subjects to reduce the burden on students and teachers. At Mweki Primary School in Nairobi, the biggest primary school that we ever have, over 3,000 kids, grade 7 students under CBET are engaged in community-based projects such as designing low-cost water purification systems, integrating science, entrepreneurship, and environmental education. We've also been able to enroll 3,520 students at the National Open University of Kenya. This is very good, up from 1,500 before. The National Open University of Kenya, chartered in August of 2023 and based at Konza City, Machakos County, has enrolled 3,520 students since its inception. The institution leverages digital platforms to provide flexible, affordable higher education, particularly for working professionals and learners in undeserved regions. Peter Omondi, a 32-year-old nurse from Siaya, is pursuing a bachelor's degree in public health through the Open University online platform, enabling him to advance his career while continuing his job at a local health center without relocating. And we are asking Kenyans to register in huge numbers. Our target is that by now we should have 5,000. Please register. You can work as you learn, because we need to create awareness on that. Please, the members of for the state help us in doing so that many people can register in the Open University. Successful transition to junior secondary school, JSS. We have now, as a government, been able to build 23,800 new classrooms, 18,000 from the national government, and 5,800 through CDF. This transition to the JSS curriculum under the CBET framework has been bolstered by the construction of these new classrooms nationwide, ensuring adequate infrastructure for 1.31 million learners registered for the 2024 Kenya Primary School Education Assessment, KPSEA. The JSS curriculum introduces vocational and technical training skills early, preparing students for diverse career paths. For example, at St. Joseph's JSS School in Nakuru, newly built classrooms equipped with digital learning tools have enabled students to explore robotics and coding, fostering innovation and aligning with Kenya's growing tech ecosystem. On TVET, it is important for us to report that 238 institutions have been built across 290 constituencies, only remaining 52. And this is very important because we are also adopting the recognition of prior learning, RPL, of which over 5,000 Kenyans who are the Juakali artisans have been given certificates because they have more knowledge than even you go to school. For example, Mary Wanjikwa, 29-year-old tailor from Thika, earned a certificate in fashion design through the RPL program at the Thika Technical Training Institute, securing a contract to supply uniforms to local schools. On the university and tertiary education funding model, the government is refining the university and tertiary education funding model to ensure equitable access to quality education, increase financing support through the Higher Education Loans Board, and adjustments to the public university funding model has expanded opportunities for many. In 2024, 36,282 students enrolled in public primary teacher training colleges, a 49.5% increase from 2023 because now they can see their jobs for teachers, driven by the revised entry requirements and enhancing funding even for those who are marginalized, people with disabilities, and people from marginalized areas. Like Amina Hussein, a first-year student at Kenyatta University from Garissa, is able to benefit from the revised funding model, which covers 80% of her tuition fees, allowing her to pursue a degree in environmental science without financial strain. Further, the government will continue to accelerate outstanding reforms like upgrading the NEMIS to now KEMIS, Kenya Education Information Management System, and PSB Talk launched it last week on Thursday. Enhanced KEMIS will improve real-time data collection as demonstrated by its role in tracking textbooks distribution to 99% of public schools in 2024. With 129,463 basic learning institutions in 2024, this is a 38.8% increase from 2023, and TVET enrollment reaching 709,885 students. So TVET enrollment, 709,885 students. Kenya's education sector is expanding rapidly. Initiatives like Nyota project and the RPL, which trains youth with low formal education and targeted investments in rural and regions, are reducing disparities. The government calls on parents, teachers, students, and partners to sustain these gains, ensuring every Kenyan is equipped with the skills and opportunities to thrive. Further, no parent will be required to pay examination fees. The government has eliminated examination fees for the 2025 Kenya Primary School Education Assessment, KPSEA, Kenya Junior Secondary Education Assessment, KJSEA, and Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education, KCSE, ensuring financial barriers do not hinder students across access to critical assessments. This policy is supported by a restatement of the budget allocation following advocacy to address the 62 billion cut that covers 1.31 million learners as reported in the 2024 KPSEA registration. So nobody is going to pay for the examinations. We have set aside some money. The cabinet is making a formal decision on this in due course in the next 1 or so weeks. But I can tell you for sure as a government spokesman that that is taken care of, and we have made that decision as a government. So those who are saying that people are going to pay, it's not in the budget, I can tell you for sure that is already taken care of very well, and we've been discussing about this in the last few days. The government of Kenya has taken a firm stance against school principals who unlawfully withhold certificates from candidates due to unpaid fees or other disputes. Such actions could lead to immediate dismissal. This directive, announced in May 2025 and reiterated recently by His Excellency the Deputy President, Kithure Kindiki, addresses complaints from parents and students, particularly in secondary schools, where withholding of Kenya's KCSE certificates has blocked students from pursuing higher education or employment. For instance, at a public school in Embu County, a principal's refusal to release certificates for 20 students who owe only 10,000 shillings was reversed after intervention from the government through the Ministry of Education, ensuring the students could apply for TVET programs. And we want many Kenyans to apply for TVET so that we can make Kenya a reconstruction site. So those are the briefs. And also further to say, on the issue of farmers, and the issue of sugar, we have already paid, as a government, the Kenya Sugar Board, over 600 million owed to factory workers in the various sugar factories, so that we clear the debt before any form of leasing is done. I know there may be opposition here and there, but we are in consultations, because when you lease these 4 companies, they are more productive, because the 12 that are in private sector are doing very well, and we want productivity, not inertia and having the dead weight. Factories that don't help us, because it's good to adapt new business models for our country. Good. I can take 2 or 3 more questions, then we call it a day. As I said, we have to have a mixed way of doing it. Questions, answers, and when you need to read, we do so. You've asked that question because of the way in which the government has ensured that the coffee value chain is beneficial to the farmers, breaking a 35-year record where a kilogram was about 50 shillings, and now to the as high of 148 shillings per kilogram in Embu County. We now have new counties that want to do coffee farming. A case in point is Uasin Gishu. And as a result of this, we expect a lot from Uasin Gishu and also Trans Nzoia counties, and even Bungoma and other places, because of the reduced acreage in the traditionally growing areas like central Kenya. And because of this, already the government has been able to give over 200,000 seedlings this year, and another 5 million will be given next year, 2026, with a view to distribute over 20 million seedlings. The government has also set aside 500 million to encourage coffee farming, and another 2 billion shillings for coffee pulping machines, so that then we are able to go back to where we were before as a country. There was a time that coffee was the biggest foreign exchange earner, but it has since been overtaken by, for example, foreign remittances that are giving us up to $4 billion, about almost 600 billion Kenya shillings. So that's where we want to go, because when you have coffee here and then we also, packaging it here, that's why we even reduced the cost of packaging paper. We are proposing that in the finance bill, so that we have value addition here, value chain addition. We have them, so that we create more jobs for Kenyans. So please, counties that can grow coffee, get into it, smell the coffee. It's the return of the coffee millionaires. Thank you. Nyinyi watu mko na maneno sana. Ati kula chapo za El Chapo ni kichapo. Namna gani wewe? Ati kula chapo za El Chapo ni kichapo. Wache propaganda bana. Wakati tunasema mambo kama haya, ni kusisitizia kwamba lazima Wakenya ambao wana watoto wao katika skuli waweze kupatiwa chakula. Kwa nini? Kwa sababu tumeona mtoto akijua atakula shuleni na kwao hatakula, atakwenda shule. Kwa hivyo inasaidia yule mtoto kuweza kusoma, na inamsaidia kujua kwamba analindwa na serikali. Na sio pesa nyingi. Ilianza kule kwetu Ruiru, by the way, huko ndio ilianza. Ikakwenda kule Embu, ikakuja kule Dagoretti South. Sasa Nairobi imechukulia, na kuna maeneo bunge mengi ambayo yalifanyika pale, na yule mdada anaitwa Mwaura. Kwa hiyo ni jambo zuri zaidi, kwa sababu wakati tunafanya hivi, ukumbuke pia kuna vijana ambao wameajiriwa Kama kuna mmoja anajua anaitwa Mike Njiru, ameajiriwa pale. Yeye amesomea statistics, lakini kwa sababu hakuna kazi alikuwa amepata hiyo statistics, anafanya kazi pale, yeye ni manager, analipwa shilingi 60 kwa mwezi. Kwa hiyo sio tu kuangalia upande ule, kuna wale pia mama mboga wengine ama watu wa kupika chapo wanaajiriwa kwa katika mpango huu wa dishi na shule. Mambo ya mashini tutaendelea kuyazungumzia pili ambavyo tutasonga mbele, lakini muhimu ni kwamba watoto warudi shuleni, waweze kupatiwa chakula, waweze kusoma na pia wakuwe na lishe bora na wakuwe na afya bora. Asante.
Hello, good morning.
Yes. Because there are lawful arrests and they must continue. No, even when people are talking about abductions before, they were actually lawful arrests. Because if there's a warrant of arrest against you, you should be arrested. And of course, there's lawlessness. You can see even on social media, people are just going out there to seek cheap publicity. The government will not stop arresting people. It will arrest those who need to be arrested as per the provisions of the law. That will continue. Anyone who is inciting Kenyans, Mwaura, people will be arrested because we must maintain law and order. That is the position of the government. Next question.
Naam, jina langu ni Silas Kemboi kutoka Radio 47. Na swali moja. Jana naibu wa Rais Kithure Kindiki alitangaza kwa serikali imeanzisha mpango wa kuwafaidi ama kuwapiga jeki wafanyabiashara wadogo nchini katika wodi zote, na alisema kwa serikali imetenga shilingi bilioni 28 na kila mfanyabiashara ambaye anafanya biashara ndogo atafaidika kutokana na mpango huo. Je, ni utaratibu gani ambao utafuatwa ili kuhakikisha kwa kila mmoja ananufaika, na naomba uelezee zaidi kuhusiana na mpango huo. Asante.
Asante sana. Kuna mpango huu wetu wa Nyota ambao utawasaidia wa vijana ambao wako katika umri huo wa vijana na watu wenye ulemavu, wanapatiwa pia kipaumbele mpaka miaka 35, na tutapatia watu pesa shilingi 50,000 kuweza kufanya biashara za ukulima na kadhalika. Na mpango huu tumeshirikiana na wafadhili wetu na Benki ya Ulimwengu, World Bank ukipenda, na kwa hivyo ni vizuri sana wakulima, wanabiashara wadogo wajisajili kupitia mpango huu wote ama mradi huu wa Nyota. Tafadhali tuingie pale, na tuna pesa pia zaidi za pia hawa wafanyabiashara wadogo, kwa sababu tulisema serikali hii ni ya bottom up. Na ukiangalia zile nguzo 5, hii ya MSME ni mojawapo, na ndio pia mle ndani tuko na Hustler Fund ili tuweze kusaidia Wakenya wetu wakuwe na pesa mfukoni. Kwa hivyo jisajili kupitia simu yako ya rununu. Tumeweza kufanya explainer, tutaweza na ofisi yangu iko na explainer nzuri sana, hata kuko na flyer ambayo inazunguka, tutaweza kushare na nyinyi hapo, ndio pia muelezee zaidi, mpate zile details, na ndiposa Wakenya waweze kujisajili waweze kupata hiyo nafasi. Na tupatane na wewe jioni TV 47, Mungu akipenda. Bas, swali nyingine?